Hey, all right, well, okay, that showing against Bronx, I started turning off once Rand came in. Rand actually did do one good thing. Rand brought up the whole idea of how many people have you paused out, bro? And I think that actually was really one of the key points. Um, what you had was you had a that's right moment happening to the Boer kid. The Boer kid's thinking, I'm here. I know this is happening. Like, we all who live here know this is happening. Um, in a way, almost appealing, sort of like how Bronx knows he is this horribly oppressed person. And that somebody like me is slightly more oppressed, and all that business, and he was, he was being a tough guy, but he really did show what liberal toughness or leftist toughness is. It's being kind of bitchy, sassy, and really it's that it's just being offensive for offense's sake in a way that actually doesn't make the person like look good. See, it wasn't like Bronx came across looking like a good person. Actually, that was the beauty of it. Bronx ended up looking like he probably is a psychopath or sociopath who's hiding it very well. He's doing what he has to do to survive and enjoy his cummings. That's all he has. That's all the left is. They have no other principle other really than self-preservation. They're only at that level. Because they never believe people are that they never apply this idea that actually when people are participating as individuals in the market, multi-generational wealth is naturally generated, and that unless there's something artificial taking the money out of the market, the idea that in such a culture as ours that the wealthy would store like a bunch of doubloons for the sake of storing them rather than reinvesting them to actually maximize their assets. This kind of stuff doesn't matter to him. It doesn't have to matter to him. That level of complexity of society doesn't have to matter to a sociopath who's getting his cummings and has no future, has a bleak future to look forward to. It was really one of these, at a certain point in that conversation, I almost wished I could have chimed in and said, you guys are looking for hope, and you're talking to a guest who probably doesn't really have a thing you would call a soul. Okay? This person doesn't care about organized torture of civilians versus civilians. Because what he was positing is that these are civilians doing this to other civilians. And that is even more terrifying than if it was actually some kind of organized government group. Because this takes hours, what was being described. And that's why the Boer guy was obviously quite horrified. And, he couldn't believe, I'm here, I know this is happening, ... where all Bronx has to do is say, no, it's not. Just like the gulags. To this day, a lot of these people still say none of that happened. They say the gulags didn't happen. The socialists are demented, awful people. No, yeah, you just got, this has this, and really the beauty of it is, it doesn't have to be accepted. It's that Bronx made you understand that about him. He will do anything that the communists in South Africa aren't key to organizing this. Because the Zulu nation apparently wants to not have a whole lot to do with the some kind of future genocide, some redistribution of land. No, the Zulus understand this isn't going to work well for them either, because communists will usurp usurp their government. The communists will mess with the tribal system and cause intertribal warfare and intra-tribal warfare, because that's what they do. And people who get that. And apparently the Zulu king gets that. And he's trying to distance himself safely. And he has to distance himself safely because, as Bronx did point out, most of the violence is with Africans versus Africans. So he has to look out for his people, the Zulus. That's apparently what he's starting to do. So this means that the society is actually starting to fracture and almost become physical, separate societies. With this idea that, oh, this is all happening because of a mythology. This isn't, nobody's being victimized by any, no. This is actually a really tiny number of hours-long, days-long torture sessions, terrorizing populations. Bronx can't care about that. He doesn't have a thing inside of him that can do that. You're looking for hope. And Bronx doesn't really have a soul. He's an NPC. He's just a particularly clever one. And now you absolutely know. I mean, the best snappy comebacks. His comebacks actually reminded me of early Capcom games. When if you didn't choose something, that the English was kind of stated all backward because it was translated from Japanese, so that there'd be these phrases in the early Metal Gear that didn't make sense. They and the names of some of the characters, you're like, do they really mean that? Silver Ocelot, or whatever. Well, yeah. So his responses reminded me of something more like that. These extremely confused and disjointed responses that I'm like, oh, no. But if you are trying to score points in a debate for your future rank in the Communist Party, this is a great way of responding to all of these arguments. And that's what he was really trying to do. And you should just lose hope in people like that. They can't be cured.